Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm sure you're looking at me and wondering, you look a bit strange. Obviously you already have seen the title of the video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to fill in your eyebrows, or in particular if you've got eyebrows like mine, which are, I wouldn't say that I've got thick eyebrows, but I definitely haven't got thin ones, and I do get them professionally threaded every 2 weeks. And this is how to show you guys how I maintain them within those 2 weeks. I've been doing my eyebrows now. It's so funny when I look back at some of my old videos, like way back when, like 5 years ago. I never used to do anything to them. I just used to get them threaded, and that was literally it. And for those of you that don't know what threading is, it is a technique which is derived from Asia, and it is basically using a thread which is then twisted at a certain angle, and then you can basically rip out the hairs, and they are ripped out from the root. Personally, in my experience, I find it better than tweezing, better than waxing as well. Waxing is good, but it doesn't take out the really tiny little hairs. Threading literally rips out every single one because it grabs every single hair. So I highly recommend it. You shouldn't ever pay more than £5 to get your eyebrows threaded. Anything more than that and you are getting ripped off. So have a look around at different places if obviously you do like to get your eyebrows done. Now, well, the way that I have mine done is mine are generally quite full. Mine grow all the way from this area and all the way round, and then what I get done is the lady for me threads the top, and then she threads all the extra hairs underneath. So I got mine threaded about a week ago, and just before this video, any little hairs that had grown over the past week, which are quite small still, I just plucked them out. But then obviously when you do a full face of makeup and you don't do your eyebrows almost tend to kind of get washed back into your face, if that makes sense, unless you've got really thick eyebrows. And even if you do have really thick eyebrows and they're a little bit unruly, you should use a bit of brow gel just to keep them in place so they look nice and tidy. So what I tend to do is I basically fill in my eyebrows by only apply a really tiny amount of product, because what you're trying to do is define them and bring them forward. For example, what is the focus that you can see on my face right now? It's my lips, right? Nothing else. I mean, obviously I've got the rest of my makeup pretty much is done, but the focus is on the lips because they're quite strong and they stand out. And then the eyebrows almost get washed back into my face. You put foundation on, you put eyeshadow on, those sort of things, they can get caught in the hairs on your eyebrows and they can make them look even more like invisible, and that's not what we want. So I have this technique that I'm going to show you how I do my brows personally. Is something that I've actually just started doing probably for the past 2 months. I never used to use concealer on my brows. I used to think that that was just an unnecessary step that would just basically make my eyebrows take ages to do. And to be fair, it still makes doing your eyebrows a little bit longer, but the end result looks amazing. So I fill mine in, but I use a really tiny amount of product because my eyebrows are obviously quite dark as it is. But I'm just going to define them, fill in any gaps that I might have, and just make them look really tidy. And the whole purpose of using concealer is to cover up any baby hairs that are so small that the tweezer or thread won't even pull them out, and it's just to really tighten everything up and make it look sharp. It's no different to sharpening your contour or using lip liner on your lips to define them. The same sort of thing applies to eyebrows. Now, if you're going for a more natural look, I would just suggest just filling them in a little bit the way that I'm going to show you, but then not to use concealer, because concealer, even though it doesn't make them look unnatural, but they look too tidy, if that makes sense. Obviously, if that's what you're going for, like I am, then by all means carry on. So the product that I've been using for the past 2 years, maybe even longer, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dipbrow Pomade, and the shade that I use mine in is medium brown. I've also used chocolate as well, but chocolate is a little bit dark for me. This one is a little bit more cool and warm toned combined. This is actually a brand new one that I just bought. One of these lasts me nearly a year. The other one that I've got is like down to its last little bits, and I just threw it away and decided to buy a new one. So this is the one that I use, medium brown. And I do use brow pencils as well, but brow pencils are more for for me, a very quick on the go, a more natural sort of application. This one is a little bit more full on, so it's up to you whether you choose to use a brush or or something like this, a pomade, which is like a really thick mousse, or you can use a pencil where you can apply much softer strokes and have a more natural look. So this is how it looks. Look at it, it's brand new, fresh, untouched, perfect. We're going to ruin it now. What you also need, if you are going to go down this route, is a brush to apply it with. Now, I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills number 12 brush, and there is the brush on the end, and there is a spoolie. Now, you don't obviously have to go out of your way to go and buy an expensive brush. An eyeliner brush would do, which is a similar shape to this, or there's quite a few different types of brushes on the market. And then you can also just buy any old cheap spoolie. The whole point of a spoolie is just to kind of brush your eyebrows through and disperse the product a little bit more evenly. If you've gone a little bit too heavy-handed in one area, you can use the brush to just brush it all out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my eyebrows, obviously. Why did I say that? It's an eyebrow video. Now, which eyebrow to start with? I'm just thinking. I think this one's my more favourite eyebrow. It's the one that agrees with me better. This one gets on my nerves sometimes. There's one down here right in the middle that even with brow gel, it still decides to poke downwards. And it just makes my like nice even line just look uneven. So annoying. Everyone's got a good brow and a bad brow. And also remember the saying, brows are not meant to be twins, they're meant to be sisters. Meaning you will never get them absolutely perfectly symmetrical, but that is the whole purpose of it. You need to look as real as possible despite the fact that you're wearing makeup. So I'm just going to show you how much I actually use of this. That's it. Do you see how little amount that is? And it is a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. And then what I do is, because the product is obviously thick and on the brush, I tend to use the lid and I smush it into the lid. Just so that more of the brush is coated, but there isn't like a really thick amount. So when I apply it, it won't be like a blob. It'll be more smooth. And what I tend to do myself is I start with the top part of my eyebrow, which is right here, and then I start to carve out a line. Now obviously, like I've said, because my eyebrows are threaded and they are pretty much already quite well shaped, it's just about making them look neat and tidy. So I'm gonna go slowly across the top and then I bring it down, and there is an area right here where it doesn't quite curve, so I will create my own curve. But again, just using this amount of product. I'm not going to go in any more with any more of this. See that line? Just above the hair, just above. Curve it and drag it down into the tail. And that is literally it. Now, because I've used product from one side of the brush and not the other, I'm just going to go back into that same lid and just smush it backwards and forwards again, backwards and forwards. I haven't used any extra product. This is just what was already in the lid and already on the brush as well. So I'm just spreading out the product on the actual brush itself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly underneath and then again do the same thing that I did along the top. I'm not going to fill in the actual brow itself. I'm just outlining my eyebrows. See that line? And now what I'm going to do is, it's normally the brow underneath which is a little less tidy because the hair starts to kind of grow downwards, and that's also where all the hairs that have been plucked out are as well. So I'm just going to try and keep the line going as straight as possible, and then when the curve comes, to curve the brush like I did along the top and draw along the bottom of the eyebrow. So exactly what I did on top. And now fill in the tail ever so gently and then start to go upwards. I have managed to get a little bit of it on my skin, but that's fine. That's the whole purpose of the concealer, to tidy up bits afterwards. Now I'm going to go back into the Dipbrow again and take a tiny bit of product, even less than before. Again, smush it into the lid just to make it a bit more creamy and less gloopy on the brush. And now I'm going to start to fill in my actual front of my eyebrow and drawing backwards. Now this part of my eyebrow is a lot more thicker and darker than the front. That is the same as a lot of people. Now it's up to you how you want to do the front of your eyebrow. Some people like to do that strange looking fade. I think that looks a bit odd, like kind of like the way that you're looking at it now. Can you see it's like a fade? I don't really like to do that. I like to put a little bit of product but not too much, then I use the spoolie to blend it out. You want it to look as natural as possible. When people have that weird fade going on, that's like what guys in the 90s did with their hair. That's like kid and play kind of like move on your eyebrows. But again, each to their own. If that's how you choose to do it, that's up to you. And then I go in with a heavier hand on the rest. Now with the front, because I've got a couple of little hairs here, I'm just going to hold the brush and drag it upwards slightly. Now obviously you can see from afar now, this one looks so much more defined, it looks so much better, and that one just looks meh. Now I have, if you guys can see, gone slightly above my hairline here because I want it to be a little bit more arched here. And then what I did was I've gone a little bit over my actual onto my skin here. But the best thing and the most important thing that I recommend when you're doing your eyebrows is the same with eyeliner. Have a small mirror and hold it up here. Because generally, because my mirror is quite far in front of me, I don't tend to do it like this. I do it with my like mirror up my nose sort of thing, you know. So I'm just checking any little bits. Seems alright. I didn't have to do too much because, as I said, because they're quite fresh. And they're not like big bushes and all over the place yet. And now I'm just going to take the spoolie and just brush it through. This gets rid of any extra product which is lying around and also spreads out the colour so that it doesn't look as patchy in areas where there isn't much hair. Now for most people this would be enough. You can just leave your eyebrows like this. You can put a bit of brow gel in just to make sure that, and the brow gel basically keeps everything in place. Or you can do what I do now, is I'm going to use some concealer. Now I've also been using the Anastasia Beverly Hills concealer, and mine is in the shade 2.0. I actually did buy this for the specific purpose of using it on my eyebrows. This is a very full coverage concealer. I don't recommend to use it under the eyes. It really creases a lot under the eyes on me. And depending on what your foundation shade is, normally get about 2 shades lighter. It's the same as like highlighting under your eyes. You're trying to really make your eyebrows stand out, but it's still got to blend nicely into your foundation as well. Now I've done, like I said, most of my makeup. Normally I would actually start with my eyebrows first, but it's just for the purpose of the video. I didn't want to sit here with a completely blank face. So this is what 2.0 looks like. As you can see, it is used a lot. I use it every single day. And the brush that I've been using is a MAC one, and it's a 194 SE. This is, I think I got it in a Christmas collection from a couple of years ago. So it is, I think it's discontinued even in the large size. But any brush like this, a flat concealer brush, a small one, that'll do. You don't want anything fluffy, it's got to be flat and quite dense. So this is a fresh, clean brush. I'm just going to dab in a tiny bit. That is literally it. Obviously, if I applied this direct on my brows, it would be way too much. So the same sort of thing that you do with the Anastasia Dipbrow, I just smush it onto my hand to disperse a lot of the product. And so that there's a bit more on my hand than there is on the brush itself. So the brush is now like this. So to me, the front doesn't look as sharp as I'd like it to. So what I tend to do is basically go in a straight line right underneath. You're covering up any little hairs and any mistakes that you may have done with the brow product. So it should look like this. You don't really need to apply that much. Whatever is left over, I tend to just do on the front. Tidy up any weird hairs that are lurking around here. It's normally the front and underneath which you have to concentrate on the most. Personally, that's what I think. Tiny little bit more on the brush. Now I'm going to go along the top. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same concealer brush and blend out as much as I can. It's not a fluffy brush, so it's not going to blend out everything, but most of the product you can now start to blend it out. Just be careful that you don't like make any mistakes. So I'm just blending it up here a little bit, roughly. Just basically spreading out the product. And now you can also see the reason why I do my eyeshadow after my brows. So now I've kind of roughly blended it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my finger just to blend it all out. Now along the top, just so that it blends into my foundation, even though I've set it and done contouring, damn it. I'm going to just use my Morphe M439 brush, which is the foundation brush I used to do my foundation to begin with. Just to blend it into the foundation, because the problem is by now your foundation would have probably dried and you don't want it to look cakey or anything like that. So there we go. At least that way you're using a brush which has already got your foundation shade on it, and it blends it into the concealer so that it doesn't look like a really obvious harsh white line at the top. And then just kind of go around the edges where I didn't use the foundation brush because it's a fat brush and I didn't want to end up accidentally putting it over my brows. And obviously not forgetting that you've got concealer on, I tend to use my NYX HD Finishing Powder, HD powder. And the shade mine is Banana, and I use my same Real Techniques contour brush that I use to set my under eyes as well. And I will put a little bit on this brush and just go around where the concealer was to set that concealer so it doesn't move. And also I generally tend to go all over my eye as well, because I've already got eye primer on for my eyeshadow. It doesn't matter, this just adds to it. If anything, it blanks out my eyes in preparation for the eyeshadow. Obviously this is a really fat brush. If you use something smaller it might be better. I just do it for convenience because I'm used to it. And then last but not least, we now have to set our actual eyebrows, the product that you used. So I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Tinted Brow Gel, and the shade that I've got mine in is Chocolate. I also use her Clear Brow Gel, and if you want something a little bit more affordable, the L'Oreal Brow Artist Plumper is also amazing. I actually think this is better than the Anastasia one to an extent because it's got a really teeny tiny brush. And see, because obviously we've applied concealer, we've applied powder as well. This is the reason you do this last, is so that if there's any powder that managed to get in the way, just brush it out. And this is an amazing brow gel. Does what all hair gels are supposed to do. Keeps your hairs in place, stops them from being flyaway, and just gives that final finishing touch. So there you go. That is your completed, finished eyebrow. You see the difference between the two? There's this one, and now look at that one. Can I raise that eyebrow? Another thing that I tend to do when I'm doing my eyebrows sometimes as well is I frown so that that line becomes a little bit more straight, and then I just neaten it up if I have to, and then it bounces back to normal. Okay, so now that you've seen me do this eyebrow and explained it in depth, I'm going to do this one, but I'm going to do it quietly because you don't need me to talk more. And voila, the brows are done. So I'm going to finish off my eyes and then I'll come back and say goodbye, just so that you guys can see what I did with the rest of my eyes. Here we go, I'm now back. I've done my eyes. I will link my entire makeup look below for you guys to my Instagram page, because I'll post it as a face of the day. On my lips I'm wearing Colourpop's K from the Creechy Tran collection, spelt K-A-E. Yeah, so this was my brow routine, because this is exactly what it is, my brow routine, my brow tutorial, whatever you want to call it. I hope that you guys found it useful and helpful in maybe doing your brows yourself. Obviously, you don't have to do every single thing that I do. It's just to show you what I tend to do myself. Obviously, you can take away bits and pieces from it and adapt it to how you feel that you need to do your own brows. So that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.